Whether it's cultural icons like Wes Anderson or current internet villain Sam Levinson, I feel like there's been a rise in the term style over substance being utilized in pop culture. Style over substance refers to a situational approach where emphasis is placed on visual aesthetics and presentation rather than on substantive content. While I will not be discussing Wes Anderson or Sam Levinson today, this recent discourse has got me thinking about films that I find entertaining and enjoy from a visual perspective, but find to be somewhat dubious on closer inspection. Following its release in 1996, Girl 6 was instantly panned by critics. Speaking about the film, Kenneth Turan, a critic from the LA Times, said, "We are given all manner of visual razzmatazz, a variety of looks, and even film stock that emphasizes the fragmented nature of the director's storytelling. Rather than draw viewers in, these techniques distance us from the story, making it difficult to care about Judy at the same time we are being told that we should." Unlike Kenneth Turan, I did really enjoy the looks, and I'm definitely very much here for the visual razzmatazz, but I did find it hard to connect to the protagonist and really understand her motivations. This wasn't due to the outfits or film stock used, but more so the writing, and ultimately what I did feel was that the visual aspects of the film distracted from the weaker aspects of the script. Now, before I discuss my likes and dislikes about the film, let's just do a quick recap. Written by Suzanne Laurie Parker and directed by Spike Lee, this film follows the life of Judy, played by Teresa Randall, an NYU film school graduate and aspiring actress. We first meet Judy during an audition scene featuring Quentin Tarantino as director QT. She is attempting to recite her monologue, which is actually the opening monologue from She's Gotta Have It, a movie released by Spike Lee 10 years prior to the debut of Girl 6. QT pressures Judy to take off her blouse. She does so reluctantly, but for obvious reasons she is uncomfortable and decides to leave the situation. This sequence of events is especially infuriating when we consider QT states that he was casting for the greatest African American romance ever written. We as the viewer are immediately hit with the reality of Hollywood and the exploitation and gatekeeping that takes place in rooms like this one. Following this, Judy loses her manager, played by John Turturro, and her acting coach, played by Suzanne Baston. Faced with the constant rejection and financial difficulties, Judy finds herself working an array of odd jobs, from co-check girl to extra. We even see her take on a job handing out flyers at one point. You see Judy is trying to fund her trip to LA so she can go on more auditions and continue her dream of becoming an actress. In search of a job, Judy stumbles upon an advert for a phone sex operator and decides to give this a try. Due to her acting background, Judy is really able to embody the characters that she plays during her work calls, and also the movie really takes its time to let us know that Judy is good at what she does, and we get the sense that she really enjoys her job. Also, when she joins the job, she's given the name Girl 6. All the girls who work at the phone sex operator company are given numbers, so she's given Girl 6. As Girl 6, our protagonist encounters a diverse array of clients. Each call presents a new scenario ranging from the tame to the explicit. Judy is able to adapt to the various fantasies and desires of her clients. Through these conversations, she starts to question her own identity and the boundaries between her real life and her role as Girl 6. Judy takes a particular liking to one specific client who she affectionately names Bob Regular. She even makes plans to meet up with Bob Regular on Coney Island before work one day. He goes on to stand her up and ghost her. This really is a heartbreaking scene for Judy and marks the beginning of her downward spiral, I think. Following this, she really delves deeper into her work as Girl 6 and begins to grapple with her addiction to her job as a phone sex operator. Seeing that she's becoming really lost in her role, her boss, Lil, played by the legendary Jennifer Lewis, tells her that she needs to take a break. Being that her identity at this point is very much wrapped up in her job, and also I believe for financial reason, Judy decides to take a job at a different company doing the same job but from from home. Madonna makes a cameo here as her new boss. Doing this raises a whole very specific set of new challenges for her, as there are little restrictions placed on home phone sex operators in this universe that Spike Lee has created, making this a really toxic situation for Judy. She is harassed, stalked, and verbally abused by a client, causing her to have a breakdown. Outside her work, Judy faces a range of personal challenges. She becomes withdrawn from her once regular life, her relationship with her friend and neighbor Jimmy, played by Spike Lee, and her ex, played by Isaiah Washington, who we will talk about later, are challenged due to her self-imposed isolation and also their own personal grievances with the nature of her job. Jimmy in particular often questions the impact her job is having on her dream of becoming an actress and voices his disdain over Girl 6's choice of profession. Although it seems like his questioning and comments come from a place of genuine affection and care, it does come off as judgmental, especially at the beginning of the movie. In a pivotal moment, Judy decides to quit her job as Girl 6, determined to focus on pursuing her acting career. With this newfound determination, she strives to regain control of her life and redefine herself beyond the confines of a phone sex operator. The story comes full circle as Judy finally goes to LA, attending another audition, this time with Ron Silver, where she refuses his request for her to take off her top and is finally able to deliver her monologue. Okay, now let's get into some things I found enjoyable about the movie. First of all, the costume design. Skillfully executed by Sarah Hernandez, the costume design was by far my favorite thing about the film. Sarah Hernandez has worked on movies like I Like It Like That, He's Got Game, and the best dance movie in my opinion, Save the Last Dance. Her work in the film adds so much authenticity and contributes to its kitschy, campy aesthetic, playing a significant role in visually differentiating Judy's persona as Girl 6. The costume also serves as a reflection of Judy's struggles and aspirations as an actress. When she pursues her acting career, she's often seen in more subdued outfits, symbolizing her desire for industry acceptance. This is in contrast to the slightly more flamboyant costume she dons as Girl 6, subtly highlighting the differences in what is asked of her in the two worlds. I love the attention to detail paid to the costuming, especially during the fantasy sequences. They obviously aren't 100% accurate, but they do a good job of capturing the essence of what they are referencing. Also, I really like that each character's wardrobe aligns with their personality and circumstances. For example, we encounter Girl 1 as Judy starts her journey in the phone sex industry. From the moment she guides Judy to the office for her interview, it's really obvious that Girl 1 kind of holds a higher position or a position of responsibility among the other girls. This is also reflected in her choice of attire, which leans towards the more sophisticated compared to the rest of the characters, maybe emphasizing her elevated status in the workplace and hinting at the possibility that she maybe is paid more than the rest of the girls. The costumes provide visual cues that really enhance our understanding of the characters in the office. Also, I have to commend the casting. I love that we are able to see a diverse range of women in the office, and also, even more amazingly, a diverse range of Black women with different aesthetics and different vibes. The costume design really captures the essence of the 1990s, incorporating vibrant colors, bold patterns. This not only grounds the visuals of the film in its specific time period, but also adds a visual interest and nostalgia. Madonna's character especially loves a bold print, illustrating her confidence and high status in her field of business. When Judy first meets Madonna's character, she's wearing a quote-unquote nerdy look at the club to highlight her naivety. As she gains a sense of power and confidence, she begins to wear more animal prints herself, reminiscent of Madonna's character style, further demonstrating Judy's growing self-assurance. The outfits Judy chooses to wear to work often really illustrate her emotional state in the scene that she's in. During the height of Judy's career, she wears the most gorgeous corseted cream suit, representing her sense of power and confidence. And when she is at one of her lowest points, after she stood up by Bob Regular, she wears this black veil. This is such a campy look. I really get the sense that if Bob had shown up, she would have removed the scarf and maybe shown off her purple vibrant outfit beneath, and also her cute little bedazzled lovely pin, which is an amazing touch, by the way. Overall, the costume design in Girl 6 not only enhances the visual storytelling but also conveys the character's personality, aspirations, and conflicts. The attention to detail, culture references, and the evolution of Judy's wardrobe contribute to the overall thematic and narrative depth of the film. Now onto the cinematography, directed of course by Spike Lee and lensed by cinematographer Malik Hassan Saeed. The cinematography really enhances the film's visual storytelling. As I'm sure you know if you've read any press for this movie, Spike Lee deliberately chose to shoot the male colors in high definition video, which is then transferred to film, while capturing Girl 6 in 35mm film, creating a distinct contrast in the visual textures between the two. This has the effect of subtly diminishing the power of the male characters while accentuating the strength and the presence of the women. Also, at both the beginning and the end of the film, a similar technique is adopted for filming Judy during the audition scenes. She is shown behind the lens of a camera, which also highlights her diminished power in these rooms that she's in. The camera movements really play a pivotal role in immersing the viewer in Judy's experience. Dynamic shots and fluid camera movements convey a sense of energy and closely follow Judy as she navigates auditions, client interaction, and also personal moments. These camera movements effectively engage the viewer and heighten the emotional impact of each scene. Spike Lee's signature double dolly shot is notably a stylistic choice employed in this film, as in most of his films, I believe. This technique is where the camera moves on a track alongside the characters, creating a disorientating aura, amplifying the tension and the emotional intensity of specific scenes. It adds a dreamlike quality to the visuals, further immersing viewers in Judy's world. The film also utilizes visual motifs and symbolism to deepen the storytelling. The recurring imagery of phones reflect Judy's phone sex work, and the mirrors and reflections emphasize her internal struggle and moments of self-reflection. These visual elements add layers of meaning and complexity to the narrative. Also, I previously mentioned that Malik Hassan Saeed worked on this film. If you know him, he also worked on Belly. I'm sure if you've seen that film, you probably see the connections between the two when you look at the lighting choices especially. In Girl 6, he similarly incorporates the use of color gels and creative lighting effects to highlight specific scenes. These choices not only add visual flair but also carry symbolic significance. They infuse a sense of mystery and tension and also intimacy to the scenes, and really do a great job at immersing the viewer in the story and intensifying really key moments of the film. Some striking features of the lighting in Girl 6 is the contrast between different settings. Natural and more subdued lighting is used in Judy's everyday life, reflecting the reality of her struggles and aspirations. In contrast, the phone sex scenes are bathed in harsh, very exaggerated light, creating almost like a fantasy world for Judy as Girl 6. Also, I don't know if this take is like almost too galaxy-brained, but the red and blue hued hallway of the building where Judy works, combined with the tunnel, which kind of has a suggestive quality, creates an atmosphere reminiscent of like a burlesque club. With its suggestive lighting and aesthetic, it further adds like a sexual innuendo. I don't know if that's just me, but yeah. Now onto the soundtrack. I found the story of the soundtrack of Girl 6 to be super interesting. It was created by Prince, predominantly consisting of B-side tracks from Prince and affiliated artists such as The Family, Vanity 6, and New Power Generation. However, it did include 3 previously unreleased songs that add a fresh touch to the soundtrack, among them being She Spoke to Me, which was used in the intro and is definitely a bop. Don't Talk to Strangers and the title track Girl 6 were also recorded specifically for the film. The soundtrack was created at a pivotal point in Prince's career during a time where he was in a legal dispute with his label Warner Brothers over his masters. He was not creating music under the name Prince at this time.
Ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise, and they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today.
The campiness of Girl 6 is a notable aspect of the film that I think is one of the main reasons for its resurgence in pop culture. Like, how do you not love this scene of Naomi Campbell?
Two spanks for putting your fingers near my clitoris.
The movie embraces a playful and exaggerated style, often veering into comedic and over-the-top moments,
About doing and feelings!
creating a heightened sense of theatricality. The depiction of exaggerated scenarios that Judy encounters while working as Girl 6 are the funniest aspect of the film to me, other than, of course, the principal schoolgirl fantasy that one guy has. I really did not love that at all. The set design of the movie, created by Ina Mayhews, reflects the various worlds inhabited by the protagonist, Judy, and contributes to the exploration of identity, performance, and fantasy. It also skillfully brings together each character's world and life and adds depth to the storytelling, contributing to the overall immersive experience of the film. For instance, Jimmy's apartment is adorned with Spike Lee's own sports memorabilia, which was the only thing in the film that really fleshed out his character for me. Judy decorates her apartment with prints of Dorothy Dandridge, who we know to be her idol. The girls' desks in the office are decorated with knickknacks, photos, and magazines, providing a glimpse into their personalities and interests. I always love these little touches in set design, and I think they really help to, as I said before, make the film more immersive. Now onto my problems with Girl 6. In the fantasy sequences, the film transports the viewers to these dreamlike settings where Judy imagines herself as black female icons to inspire her, such as Cleopatra Jones, Dorothy Dandridge, and a female character from the Jeffersons. I'm kind of struggling to ID who this is specifically. I'm sorry, I'm from the UK, and this show is very much before my time, so I was kind of lost during these scenes, but I have gathered that it's obviously referencing someone from the Jeffersons. So if you know, please let me know in the comments. Spike Lee has said that his inclusion of these sequences were to illustrate Girl 6's inability to separate her fantasies from her real-life experiences, highlighting the challenges she faces in maintaining a sense of identity and authenticity. I love the idea of what Spike Lee was going for here. However, I did find these sequences to have no real impact on the story and do very little to push the movie forward. Honestly, I think the writer or Spike Lee maybe just wanted a chance to reference black female icons, which is fine. Obviously, I would probably do the same if I directed a movie, but I do feel like the way these scenes were written, they don't really cohesively fit in with the narrative structure of the film. The same thing can be said about some, but not all of the cameos. In the film, there are several notable cameo appearances from various celebrities, one of these being Madonna. Now, this was post her sex book era, which was a book of erotic images released concurrently with her erotica album, making her appearance in the film very fitting for me, given the point in her career that she was in, and of course her place in pop culture at this time. Her image was very much synonymous with sex, so this was kind of like a wink and a nudge to the audience. There are also a few more low-key cameos, such as a young Michael Imperioli playing the creepy, scary stalker caller, and of course the obligatory John Turturro Spike Lee collab, I guess. Another celebrity featured in the film is Naomi Campbell. As a Naomi Campbell fangirl, this appearance was actually how I found out about the film in the first place. I love the sexiness and elegance that she brought to the role. And again, I can't emphasize enough how much I appreciate the casting of the women who worked in the office. It's so rare to see such a diverse visual representation of Black women, especially in the 90s. Of course, I do wish that the film spent more time focusing on the girls who worked at the phone sex agency and developing their stories more. Despite Quentin Tarantino playing a pretty foul, what I feel to be reimagining of himself, I think that his inclusion adds a layer of irony, especially considering his previous work. Now onto the cameos that I could have done without. Ron Silver could have potentially been replaced by literally any actor. I found his inclusion to be pretty forgettable. Also, the cameo by Halle Berry seemed the most perplexing to me as a viewer. As much as I love Halle, I just didn't really understand the purpose of her cameo. At first I thought it was because she played Dorothy Dandridge in the biopic about her life. This made sense until I googled it and I saw that the film was released a full 3 years after Girl 6. So I don't really understand the purpose of this unless the film was in pre-production beforehand. If so, then I'm sorry to Spike Lee, but otherwise I feel like he just included her to bolster the film and increase the star power, especially when we consider the storyline that she was included in. The film includes a subplot involving a little girl who's fighting for her life after falling down an elevator shaft. Throughout the film, we are presented with various news segments to highlight this incident. Halle Berry's character makes a visit to the girl. Again, for what reason, I do not understand. This subplot suffers from a lot of weak writing points and direction. Like, I get the elevator storyline can be seen as metaphorical representation of the downward spiral of Judy's life, especially considering when Judy has her breakdown, we finally reach the bottom of the elevator and Michael Imperioli is at the bottom representing her lowest point. It is an interesting concept, I guess, but the inclusion of this whole entire storyline, the scenes of the girl, her mother, her aunt, Halle Berry, solely for the purpose of illustrating this metaphor is just a lot for me. One really confusing moment also that is associated with this storyline is when Judy wraps her head in a bandage, mirroring the injured girl who's being shown on the TV screen at that same time. This scene is really out of place with the rest of the film and also raises questions about Judy's mental state that just aren't really effectively addressed through the story that we are presented with. I would have preferred if they used the scenes which were wasted on the elevator storyline to develop the character of Girl 6 a bit more. There's so much that is left unexplored about her. We don't even really learn Judy's name until the end of the movie, which really creates a sense of detachment, preventing us from fully connecting with her as a character. Instead of focusing on the character's development, the movie tends to spend a lot of time with unnecessary subplots, detracting from the opportunity to delve deeper into Judy's background and her motivations. Also, important aspects of her personal life and relationships are left unexplored. We are not given a clear understanding of her feelings towards her ex or the reasons why they broke up. The film also fails to really adequately pinpoint the reasons why Girl 6 is susceptible to the addiction of phone sex. This lack of character exploration extends to other characters, including Isaiah Washington's character and Spike Lee's character Jimmy, which are not fully fleshed out at all. Girl 6 attempts to address the objectification, sexualization, and marginalization of Black women in Hollywood. However, it seems to engage in the very behavior that it is criticizing. In the opening scene of the film, Teresa Randall is shown bare-chested, which raises discomfort considering the movie is supposed to be a condemnation of such objectification. While I do not really have an issue with nudity in film or TV, the film's contradictory messages undermine its intended commentary. Also, the worst thing is Girl 6 was intended to serve as a star vehicle for Teresa Randall, but following the release of the movie, her career experienced a significant decline. Unlike the male figures in the film, some of them who actually deserved to have a bit of a decline in their career, Spike Lee, who had collaborated with Randall in the past, did not cast her again again after Girl 6. This discrepancy in her career trajectory really raises questions about the industry's treatment of Black women and suggests the film's critiques may have been insufficiently addressed in practice. Towards the end of the film, Girl 6 is shown at a different audition where she finally is able to advocate for herself. However, the gratification for the viewer is diminished due to the overwhelming amount of narrative elements present throughout the film, and also just the real-world ramifications of the film on Teresa Randall's career make it really challenging to fully appreciate this moment of empowerment to me. Lastly, my biggest issue with the film is what it has to say about sex workers. For media that is meant to be written from the perspective of a sex worker, it seems to be very much judgmental of sex work in a very much 90s way. The film seems to imply that women who engage in sex work deserve to be treated poorly or subjected to harassment because of the nature of their job. To me, this is depicted through the scenes of Judy being forcefully kissed and inappropriately touched by her ex. The film suggests that her actions somehow provoked his action, which reinforces victim blaming and perpetuates the harmful notion that women are responsible for inappropriate actions of others. Also, the romantic kiss at the end between Judy and her ex, despite being beautifully shot, raises a lot of issues for me. It implies that forgiveness and reconciliation are expected and necessary in such situations, potentially sending conflicting messages about consent and healthy relationship dynamics. The negative comments made by Jimmy about phone boning, as he calls phone sex, further contribute to the demeaning and objectifying portrayal of sex work, reinforcing stereotypes and marginalizing the experiences of individuals involved in the industry. Also, the protagonist's character arc involves giving away some of her money that she makes from her job. But the subtext of this isn't that she was trying to be generous. It more so feels like she was ashamed of her job and what she had done to get the money. These scenes also have heavy religious undertones with the backing track that was used.
God bless you.
God bless you.
God bless you too. Can I have a kiss?
This kind of has a sanctimonious feel to it that I just don't really love. It doesn't sit well with me. The costuming choice to put Judy in white after quitting the phone sex industry can be interpreted as symbolizing purity or righteousness, which may contribute to the moralistic tone of the film. Overall, Girl 6 raises concerns about its handling of sensitive subjects. I first discovered Girl 6 during the summer of 2020. We were all stuck inside. The atmosphere was generally pretty bleak. Searching for some form of escapism, I found Girl 6 to be a breath of fresh air in its depiction of a beautiful, fashionable, and self-sufficient Black woman. This was exactly what I needed from the film at the time. And I do want to stress that Girl 6 may not excel in its substance and handling of heavy. It unfortunately just seems to be a product of its time. But I suppose that it is kind of progressive for a film made in the 90s in that it does somewhat positively portray sex workers. And I think that it can still be enjoyed as a campy and visually appealing experience, and appreciating it for its style and entertainment value is still a valid perspective, but it is obvious that its strengths lie in its aesthetic style rather than its depth of substance. Thank you so much for watching if you've lasted all the way to the end of the video. And since you're here anyway, you might as well subscribe if you would like. Thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video.